Hello and welcome to another edition of the SportsHeads on Verge Magazine, the show where we have 30 minutes to be able to talk about all things American sports. As per usual, the gentlemen that are joining me are Sam Morgan, Daniel Falui, and Chris Braithwaite. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing good, man.
Doing good, mate.
Right, lots to get through. Obviously, we got 2 minutes on each subject for you guys to be able to talk about. I'll make sure you guys stick to the timings. We've got lots to get through, so let's go through it. So we'll start off with the Washington Redskins, as they shouldn't be named. So before you guys come at me, there is due to be discussions of a name change apparently that we've been told by the organization. After heavy pressure from all of the sponsors, mainly Nike, who has taken off their products from their site, and FedEx, who are 10% owner of the business, and obviously the stadium sponsor, you're putting on some weight on the guys, and then obviously, they want a new stadium. It's not going to happen. The mayor says if they're going to keep the name. So let's start off with Sam. What's your view on this long-awaited name change?
Well, you nailed on the head there. Long awaited. It's been going on for some time, and obviously with everything that's happened with the Black Lives Matter, I think they've used that as a bit of a springboard to try and get this over the line. But like many other things in the NFL, takes a bit of the PR stunt sometimes to get things moving, and for people to put their name to something. So like Riviera, was it a week and a bit ago, didn't really want to get involved in this subject, kept his distance, and now there's a bit of traction. It's like, yeah, this should definitely happen. It's like, well, how can you go from keeping your distance? Someone's now pressed a button on you to say, right, you need to say this, and you need to get the people on side. So, yes, I'm glad it's happening. It's about time. Obviously, Trump's put his 2 pence in, and everyone's coming up with a few memes, but yeah. It's only right. And obviously, I think a few of the players have sort of stepped up as well, which is great to see, to sort of say, look, we don't really want to play for a team that has that in the background. And I think there's been some harsh history lessons coming out to a few people as well about why this name was put in there and why this name shouldn't now be in place. So, yeah, I'm glad to see it happening. But it'll be interesting to see what they change it to and the logos, and it's good, like big names like Amazon, I think, are potentially looking to pull the products as well. So, yeah, fingers crossed these moves play the heavy weight and we see an interesting name.
Dan, what's your views on this?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm a big advocate of sort of Native American rights, and I think, population-wise, they're not the biggest in the US, and so as a result, I don't think they have the biggest voice or biggest platform. So I'm glad that they, sort of jumped the bandwagon with the sort of Black Lives Matter and sort of discussed this. It's not just Washington; it's also Cleveland Indians are looking to get it changed. And I think people need to remember one thing: Redskins, Indians aren't the correct terminology to use for the Native Americans, the indigenous population. People seem to forget Christopher Columbus came, he thought it was India, and it wasn't India, and so he decided to call them Red Indians as a result. So the whole Redskins is actually a derogatory term used for it. So I think people need to recognize that. And, I hate the fact that Dan Snyder in the past has sort of said, people aren't offended. You can always get, a small number of people from any group and try and utilize that and say that they weren't offended. But, it's not right. It's long overdue. People forget that the guy who initially had Washington Redskins, he was a bigot who basically, didn't want to segregate the team and was forced to by Robert F. Kennedy. So, it's a long-awaited sort of racial history that needs changing. And, I'm all for it. I think it needs to be, there are so many names. The English dictionary is so vast in terms of the words. I'm surprised you can't find something else to name one of the 32 teams in the NFL.
Well, we've got a nice little history lesson there as well.
Doing
their research. Chris, you got to top that. So, what's your view?
I think the Redskins name is just another storyline in the bigger picture of the racial discussion in America. And can you guys hear me? No. is a bigger example of the racial discussion in America. Granted, yes, the Redskins are one of our pro teams, but it's been a long time where a lot of people wanted to get rid of this name. We're talking about going back to Tony Kornheiser back in '92 when he dropped the name. Also, Grantland Publishers, Bill Simmons, Keith Olbermann, Chris Collinsworth, Matt Miller. All these guys have big platforms, and they've decided that they're not going to use the name. All white guys, I'm sorry, that they understand how crazy and how the name and how racist it is. And for Dan Snyder now to go ahead and change it, it's kind of like, all right, fine, we don't have anything else to do, and the pressure of the society, like Sam pointed out, is getting to him. And of course, we all know it comes down to dollars and cents, primarily. And if the sponsors are finally going to pull out, that's the only reason Dan Snyder is doing this. Not because he has a change of heart, not because he woke up and he's like, you know what, we've been doing terrible to the indigenous community and stuff. No, it's because he's gonna lose dollars and cents, and he looks bad right now. So I think that's the main reason. But big shout out to all those guys for a long time who have been advocates behind the name change, not using it in their publications, not using it on TV. And so I give kudos to those. But now it's time for us to now move forward, and this being a part of the bigger conversation that we're talking about race in America.
Well, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's beyond time that name is changed. You know, what we probably do, we should actually, you know, maybe next week we're going to have a little think tank and try to help those guys out and actually maybe come up with some names. You can't, you're not allowed to use Washington Generals because you know, I think that's taken already by the Harlem Globetrotters or something like that. So anyway, we'll come out with some names. Good that it's actually Dan Snyder's got some heat on his backside for once. We'll see if he's actually going to change it, because we've been here before where he actually said, oh, we're going to have meetings and discussions to see if we're going to change the name. Just gives him time not to. You know, that's basically what he says. So let's move on to another subject, unfortunately. DeSean Jackson decided to try to educate his followers, his people, as he says, where he put out an Instagram story which basically featured a quote attributed to Hitler, where it said basically, white Jews will blackmail America. They will extort America, and their plan for world domination won't work if the Negroes won't know who they are. Weird thing for him to quote. I would, you know, obviously, you never start any conversation right by quoting Hitler unless you're in, you know, in certain demographics, certain groups. You know, I'll start with Dan. Obviously, Steven Jackson has decided to get involved as well and back up DeSean Jackson. I'm not sure understanding why. Tell us what your views on this whole situation is.
Okay, so be patient with me because this might run a little bit over time. But I think, firstly, look, DeSean Jackson, he's like, what, 32? So you're not a young kid. You're an adult. You went to a good university. I think you went to University of California. So you went to a prestigious university. So you're well educated to know that any statement that starts off with Hitler said, it's not a great statement and it's not a good thing to say. So for me, you can't turn around and say, oh, context. It doesn't make a difference what context you're using. And I think Steven Jackson's been very forefront with the whole Black Lives Movement, particularly since his friend was the one that passed away. And I think it's very reminiscent of blacks not to sort of push for, you know, a situation where someone might say something wrong, like the owner of the Atlantic Dreams, and then people calling for them to sort of lose their jobs, like Amy Cooper, and then not do the same for DeSean. I think what he did was wrong, and we as black people can't push for equality and then marginalize other marginalized groups in society. That's not wrong. That's wrong and it's hypocritical. And also, DeSean Jackson and other people, they need to realize these social media isn't a platform for people to say what they want. Social media, and I keep saying this and I've stressed this enough, and I've said it before, it's an advertising platform. It's a space for advertisement. Where do they get the money? Advertisement. What sells the most is the controversial post that draws stuff. It's why Trump is allowed to do what Trump's done. Now they're trying to, you know, maybe do a little bit more of policing. But you can't say what you want on social media. And also, Twitter's only got 240 characters. Something that talks about race, especially if you want to put about the context, you can't do it in 240 characters. So I think, people need to be aware of that and be cognizant of the fact that if you're going to do something, sit down and talk to people. And Stephen Jackson, I'm sorry, but it comes off very ignorant for you to be like, the truth. He's trying to speak the truth and they don't want to hear the truth. What truth? You're trying to, what truth are you talking about? Hitler and his policies led to the death of 6 million Jewish people. So if you're talking about Hitler saying something about Jewish people, it's not going to be in a good light. And it's offensive to people whose grandparents or parents, survived the Holocaust. So yeah, I mean, it's more to say, but, sort of time's up, really.
I like that. That's a whole history lesson in 2 minutes. He's on form. Sam, you got to come with the fire.
Yeah, I'm not going to cover the history lesson. I'll touch on the fact that what you said about the advertising platforms of social media, and I think that any sports person needs to hold themselves accountable for the responsibilities that they have to the wider audience, which goes from the younger generation looking at this. So you don't want to start breeding more people that suddenly sympathise with Hitler. So take that responsibility. You're earning millions of dollars a year as well. Again, you're an employee of someone as well. So when you've got to conduct yourselves in what they want you to do, you unfortunately you are a pawn in this game at this moment in time. Maybe once you earned your money, you're retired. I'm not saying he shouldn't or should say it, but then use your own platform at that time to do that, and then you're not in that limelight. I think there's a bigger picture here is to say that you've got to take that responsibility. But yes, starting any conversation with Hitler, you better follow that up with something negative about Hitler, not positive. 100%, you cannot follow it up with that right now, especially with everything that's going on. There's so much going on right now. You do not need that. People need to sort of band together, have only the positive news that we need to get our motive across. So yeah, absolute madness. But yeah, hopefully. What's this, question time?
No, I want to add one thing as well, what you're saying in terms of people need to remember that are listening to this. The owner of the Philadelphia Eagles and the general manager are both Jewish. Just putting it out there.
Of course. But again, there's so much going on. We need to really push on with this. And as I say, the fact that he is part of that organisation, and it's not just the Jewish people, it's everyone in this world. Hitler brought a world war on and brought everyone together. So right now should have not done that. And hopefully the punishment obviously matches the crime.
So, Chris, what is your views on this? Do you think that it should be suspended? And then obviously, what's your overall view about Stephen Jackson also getting involved?
In terms of DeSean Jackson and what he said and what he reposted or retweeted or posted, obviously anything like, I just want to share the same sentiments of the other guys on the board. Anything that you quote Adolf Hitler in any form of fashion, obviously we know where his mind state was. So obviously we know DeSean Jackson did not, or probably did not say what he really wanted to say. Obviously I've heard conversations of him trying to clear it up. Whether it was Shannon Sharp, just saying what he wanted to say was that if black people come together, it's a big force. But that's not what he was saying. So the context was taken. I think DeSean has learned from that, and moving forward, obviously we are going to hold him accountable, rightfully so. But when it comes to the punishment now, we have to go back and see how the Eagles now dealt with the Riley Cooper situation, because we're talking about something along the same lines. And with Riley Cooper, they kind of put out a kind of we're sorry kind of statement, and also went ahead and gave him a extension with that. And so with DeSean Jackson, I feel because you've set a precedence with Riley Cooper, you kind of have to have the same precedence with DeSean Jackson. You can't make an example out of DeSean Jackson. And Riley Cooper, a couple of years ago, under your same management, did some inflaming things also. I understand the movement today. We're all super sensitive and we're hypersensitive and we're in a cancel culture. But I do believe he should receive the same type of discipline that Riley Cooper got. If Riley Cooper can go and say racial epithets and not get in trouble, kind of, sort of, I feel that the Eagles have set their precedence when it comes to this particular kind of rhetoric. So now this is on their shoulders due to what they've done in the past and now. Steven Jackson, I think he's just right now just on the movement. So anything he's going to do is going to be pro-black. It could be dangerous, but I think for Steven Jackson right now, he's defending anybody that comes to the hill and doing history. Could be ignorant. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really privy on what Steven Jackson said, been very busy, but I do know the context. So I'm just going to say from the culture, I feel he's just defending the culture. Could be wrong, but I feel that's what he feels that he has to do in this time DeSean has his back against the wall.
I think you know, with both posts, obviously with DeSean Jackson posting and obviously automatically knowing that he's wrong for posting what he's posted. I think that was one thing, idiotic as it is misinformed, and you know, there's no education. And how can you educate someone when you actually don't even, when you're quoting things that actually didn't even exist? Two, I think that Steven Jackson's not actually helping the cause of something that he's been fighting for his friend, by you actually coming out of racist statements or ignorant statements yourself. It's not helping the whole movement. It's everyone's supposed to be helping everyone to be equal, everyone, not, you know, minorities arguing amongst themselves. We're back to square one. It's not really helpful in the whole situation. Let me guys give you some numbers now. 10-year contract worth 477 million with 26 million in potential bonuses, leading to a total of 503 million. Patrick Mahomes, will you please be my friend? I can be the best of friend to you. Let's start off with Sam. What is your view on this new Kansas City Chiefs contract for Patrick Mahomes?
Woo! Speechless.
It's not working.
Mike.
Fucking. You want to hear what I had to say? No, 10-year deal. It is and it isn't. NFL, as we know, listen, he breaks his leg, that deal's done. Like, he's got some guarantees in there, and obviously that contract will undoubtedly be massive. I think you'll probably see 6 or 7 years of good money, maybe, if he stays healthy. But remember, he's already started to pick up a few little knocks here and there that we might not see the same Mahomes in those years. But undoubtedly, the numbers are crazy. So much so that players are taking pay cuts because of it. Took a pay cut. Was quite happy to take one, apparently. He said, "Yeah, how much money can I earn?" And I'm like, Jesus, I wish I could be in that situation. But yeah, honestly, as we've spoke about here, potential MVP. He definitely deserves it. I'm trying to remember the old QB. He did a funny tweet. I think is it the same as having a 1-year deal with 10 teams? I think it was McCowan or something like that. I think that said it. I thought that was.
Oh, he's freezing up.
This guy and his Wi-Fi.
Brilliant.
Oh,
he deserves it. How does that leave Dak Prescott?
Well, we froze through some of your actual comments.
got the Teddy Riley Wi-Fi.
But yeah. We got the gist of what you're saying. Dan, get in there.
So when I first saw the news, I was ecstatic for Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP of the league, all before 24. Great. Then when I started to actually look at the contract, it raised a little bit eyebrows because of the contract, I think only 67 or 63 to 67 is fully guaranteed. Mm-hmm. So the rest isn't. And then it talks about sort of rolling on incentives. Like, it doesn't look. It's a great contract if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You've wrapped up a QB for the next 10 years, and it's a no-trade clause. And he's got, I think, 113 or 123, something around that number in terms of injury guarantees as well. But realistically speaking, once you sign a contract, how much are you taking home guaranteed? You know, there's stipulates he's got to win his division, he's got to get he's got to get an MVP, he's got, you know, get to the AFC Championship. So it's not a great deal. Well, I'll say this: if he's Patrick Mahomes, it's probably a great deal because he signed it. But to be fair, for other people looking outside, you know, maybe a Dak Prescott, it's not the best deal Patrick could have signed because, again, not everything's guaranteed. And while averagely he's making the most, there's a lot of incentives ridden into that contract. So, you know, I'm still excited for him. It's still great. Could probably have gotten more on the guarantee point of view. Yes, he could have probably got a Kirk Cousins type of thing where it's a fully guaranteed contract because I believe he deserves it. Best QB in the league right now, him and Russell Wilson. So we'll see. But again, I'm happy for him. But I do think he could have done a little bit better in terms of just the finite numbers. But yeah, look, again, we're, you know, semantics, picking our straws. He's done a great deal. And as Sam said as well, where does this leave Dak Prescott? I think it's a different situation because Dak Prescott isn't Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think you can look at Patrick Mahomes and sort of leverage off that with Jerry Jones.
Yeah, that's a different stratosphere for all other QBs. So please don't think you're going to be getting that type of deal because that's different level, different type of VIP membership. Chris, get in there.
Oh, man. When we woke up the other day and we saw that he signed, I mean, I see some reports, $503 million it could possibly be. I've seen that. All I know is every guy wanted to be Patrick Mahomes and every female wanted to be Brittany Matthews, Patrick Mahomes' girlfriend. She's definitely locked in for sure, you know? And so big shout out to them for signing the deal. Now, to Daniel's point about the guaranteed money and the long contract, what I think Patrick Mahomes did, I think this is a deal that works out for both parties, which is rarely not the case with long-term deals. I do feel since he is a Super Bowl champion and he's only 24, I do feel that he did garner the big payday of 503 with only about a 160 guarantee. But I think Kansas City now, over the 10-year haul, has helped themselves be able to manipulate salary cap, be able to get players. Because the hardest thing to do when you have a quarterback that hits the cap so much is to build the rest of your team. We've seen that happen with a whole bunch of other teams that have given their quarterbacks millions of dollars, $20 million, $25 million, and the rest of the team just cannot survive. Tom Brady is a great example of how, when you don't give a quarterback that much money, how your team can stretch out for a long period of time in this game of football. But I think in this deal, Kansas City, Andy Reid, big shout out to them. I think they've given themselves a lot of flexibility so that their team doesn't tank and they have a quarterback that's making a whole lot of money and taking all the scrutiny. And then for Patrick Mahomes, it's actually good for him because he's only 24. What if he balls out for the next 4 years? Don't you think he's going to want to renegotiate this $503 million contract for even more money and more guaranteed money now that he's gotten into his second contract and so on? So it all plays on how Patrick Mahomes plays, but I do think Kansas City, on what they know about NFL players, have set themselves up that they don't take a lot of the hit also.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about wealth lately, and then obviously that though when I saw those digits, they definitely woke me up. But I also thought to myself, well, you know what? He's rich, but the guy signing the check is even richer. So there's yeah, that's wealth, my friends. That's wealth. Right. So let's go to your guys' stories of the week. You know, obviously, what stuck out to you during this the boring time that we've all been at home still. Sam, what stuck out to you?
You know what? I've been racking my brains as to what to actually go for, and I'm going to fall back on USC again because I like to obviously give it a bit of a mention. But George Masvidal, 6 days' notice going into obviously the main card on the main fight this Saturday. This guy, he has the BMF belt, as we like to say. I'm going to keep it PC. You can work that out, what it stands for. There's a reason he has that. This guy he's unstoppable. And actually, I want to see, hopefully he comes away with a title potentially this weekend. And if he can, obviously for us guys in Europe, trying to watch that at 3 a.m. is not the easiest. Chris, you might be all right. But, yeah, so try and watch that if you can. Fight Island, that fight this week will be pretty good. And I think you'll be a testament to see how this guy is to prepare for a fight in 6 days. I can just about prepare for a 10-minute run in 6 days. So let alone I'll be looking forward to that one.
Dan, what's your story that sticks out to you?
I think the story that sticks out probably, shout out to sort of the WNBA, the Women's Basketball League, the owner of the Atlantic Dream, Kelly, however you say her last name, Lofa, whatever her name is, mentioning that, sort of criticizing the Black Lives Movement matter. And, in terms of, sticking sports out of politics out of sports. Now, I think it's kind of rich because, you've got the president of the United States talking about politics in sports. So, and there's so much politics into sports. I think, considering that she's in Atlanta, the location where she's in, and the fact that she's, in the WNBA, which is, again, a league that's predominantly blacks, to say that Black Lives Movement matter is not great. It's not ideal considering that you own a team or you're co-owner of the team. But there is one bit, though, in terms of the manifesto that she does raise. And I think when you dig a bit deep into the Black Lives Matter manifesto, in which I said earlier in the earlier episodes, the movement needs better leadership. And I think if you did have better leadership, you wouldn't have the DeSean Jackson situation, because you would get people to focus purely on the aim of promoting, sort of equality for black people and don't talk about anything else. And I think sometimes you need to run this movement like it's a company, have someone at the head, have individuals to have their different roles in that so that it can work a bit more cohesive and that you don't get distractions, because you're going to get people like the lady who is going to say stuff negative about Black Lives Matter. And I think in the manifesto, one thing that she pointed out was the destruction of the nuclear family. Now, if you believe in having a mom and a dad and having a two-parent household, you're not really going to follow the Black Lives Matter movement based on just one of their manifestos, their key manifestos. So I think it's one of those situations of having better leadership in the Black Lives Matter movement. Be precise in what you want, sum it down to sort of 3 points, and just work it like a company, have people work their roles and just stick to that, and don't deviate, don't talk about other people's cases, don't do what Colin did and talk about Cuba, or just focus on that case and just work on that. And once you get that, then you can talk about other things as well. So I think that's my sort of takeaway for the week. Good
call. Chris, what's your story of the week that stuck out to you?
Wow, to echo Dan's point about the WNBA. Wow, we're talking about the WNBA a lot. but another side, I know he was talking about the lady, but I'm talking about a leader in the WNBA who's actually taking off some 2 seasons of hers. I'm talking about superstar Maya Moore for the Minnesota Lynx, who actually took off time from playing in the WNBA, I believe 2 seasons, to go ahead and fight the case of Jonathan Ayers, a man who she believed was wrongfully convicted, and to be there for his case and for her to show up for his case, and he was exonerated a couple days ago, and she was there, and the pictures were up, and you could see the joy and the love, and you could see the pressure come off her shoulders, because she literally took off of her job, her platform, her profile, and to go ahead and just fight for a man that she felt was wrongfully accused of something that he didn't do, and he was exonerated. And I think that's the type of leadership today that we're missing a lot, is the actually boots on the ground type of work that really, really sets change. Posting, rehashing, black screens don't do anything. This is what does something. You have a platform, you have a name, I'm going to use it. And big shout out to the black women out there that are doing this type of work that probably don't get seen. But shout out for Maya Moore for being a leader, maybe type of leader that Dan's talking about in this particular kind of movement, to go ahead, put a foot down, put in the work, and really come out with results. So big shout out to Maya Moore. That's my point.
Salute to all of your stories. Are really good. I would say that if you my one is if you get a chance to watch West Indian cricketer Michael Holding's view on Black Lives Matter, on the Black Lives Matter movement, is be a great 5 minutes of education to you. Like, I think he spoke really eloquently about, and explained to you step by step how it makes people feel. And hopefully there'll be a time when we're every single week we haven't got to be speaking about racial issues, and we can concentrate on all the sports that we love. Guys, thank you very, very much for joining us again this week to listen to my friends here pick out their stories and cram in as much sports stories as we possibly can from American sports. We'll be back here next week, and obviously follow us on our socials, obviously posted down below. I won't mess that up by doing that. I'm going to go and check my lottery ticket, so if I'm not here next week, you know why. Peace.